Welcome back to the Late Chess Podcast. Doctor, we have a guest.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
I know. Well, you get excited easily. You like think it's a thrill to get a text from me. So, this one's even bigger though. Big one. Big one.
Yes. Big.
From I would like to call him Mr. Hanging Pawns himself.
Thank you for
Stefan,
having me,
welcome.
Bill and Paul, or Doctor. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
The funny part is we're both doctors, so it's kind of funny. But
Yes.
he gets the nickname. I just went to school. It's fine. So just in case, I think a lot of our audience would be familiar with it, with what you're doing and what your progress is in your chess, but just to bring everybody up to speed with, what you've been doing and what Hanging Pawns is and maybe even chess reads.
Okay, first of all, I'm not a GM level player. For those of you who don't know me, I'm 2000 FIDE, so I'm an adult improver. You could call me that, I guess. And Hanging Pawns was supposed to be the engine that's going to keep my chess progress running. That was the original idea. It's still the idea. And when I fell in love with chess, I decided to, just play chess, and I needed a way to both have time and money to do so. So content creation and providing something to the community was the only way. Chess Reads was a second project I started back in early 2025, but I'm no longer a part of that.
So I first started, so just background wise, we've made a joke with the podcast that we called DCP is a new title that we have. So DCP is anybody who's got a over the board rating of 1500 or more. So you easily qualify for that. We easily qualify for it if we add our ratings up. So it's a little different, but we wanted to kind of, it's great to listen to a GM. It's great to listen to, a person who's like several hundred points away, but we wanted to show that, the struggle is real no matter what your rating level is. Even when you're down where we are, it's still not easy. So then I found Hanging Pawns and I loved all your stuff. And then I found your Patreon like so much after that. So I apologize for not starting sooner, but started the Patreon and it's fantastic and it's helped me with focusing and narrowing the number of people that I have to and the number of resources that I try to look to. And I wanted to thank you for that officially and in person. So
No, thank you for the support. The idea behind Patreon is to give members something they can actually use in their own training. So I have a lot more plans for that. But the goal is to enable people to study on their own. Whether I'm successful yet, I don't know, but I'm sure that content will improve over time. Yeah, thank you.
So speaking of which, you're in the midst of, I hope it's a multiple part series. I think part 2 came out recently. I am on an internet hiatus since I'm hiding at a racetrack doing my other hobby where I lose money, racing cars. The first 2 parts, maybe a third part, don't know. You never know. We're on different ways of studying and different resources to studying, and then you were very nice in ranking them, and I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about that and probably not steal everything from YouTube, but a little bit.
I mean, there is so first of all, it's not a series similar to my opening series where I have a predetermined schedule and I have a set number of videos I'm going to record, but I try to answer people's questions because people ask me the same things over and over again. And one of the most common questions is, what should I do? I'm rated XYZ. And there's really no good answer to that question. And uniformity is impossible there. I've spoken to, Jakub Agard. I've spoken to many coaches, many GMs, many authors. And between 5, GMs, they don't agree what the best study method is. And then I'm certainly not qualified to share something that's going to work for everyone. But what I try to do is run a statistical analysis on the previous 9 years, or the periods during the last 9 years when I was actually able to fully commit to chess study, which, despite what people think, hasn't been all the time throughout 9 years. And I found that one thing all the successful study periods had in common was me not just engaging with some sort of content, but recreating tournament conditions. And I believe that there's nothing better than getting as engaged as you get during a tournament game and doing things over a real board without moving the pieces and timing yourself, because that's basically what you do during the game. So I tried to compile a list of all study methods people use and rank them from most to least successful. And I think it's no surprise that videos came in last, and that actual tournament play and game analysis came in first and second, and studying and analyzing with strong players. So it's actually pretty simple. If you're trying to get better at racing cars, then you aren't going to watch videos where people race cars. You're going to race a car.
Right.
So
it has not worked for me ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to work for people in chess either. And that's what I said at the beginning of that video. Stop watching videos. That's great when you're procrastinating or trying to have fun or whatever, but it's not gonna teach you, it's not gonna transform into an applicable skill. And you can have as much theoretical knowledge as you can. You can read all the chess books. Unless you try to apply that knowledge, you're never going to be able to actually use it during a game, which is the end goal.
No, it's really not the videos though. It's because you have a plethora of videos. So it's about taking those videos and then transferring that onto the board, whether in practice or tournament play.
Yeah, of course. I mean, of course, any book, any video, any chess course, a podcast could be useful. But say you guys are talking to Mauricio Flores Rios, and he's talking about the King's Indian pawn structure, and he's saying, "Oh, I've had trouble with unsuccessful attacks on the king side, blah blah blah." Now, someone who's 1200, who's listening to that, how is he gonna take anything from that unless he sets up a board and actually figures out what Mauricio is talking about? So yeah, you're exactly right. Videos can be useful, but watching a 20-minute video while actually analyzing the lines yourself is going to take 5 hours. And it's not going to be watching a video, it's going to be studying.
One of the great things that you said that in several videos that I love, and I wondered if you could share any reactions, some of the people on Patreon or on your website, when you say studying a game would take about 5 hours, analyzing a game. I think that's great, because everybody wants to get it done in 10 minutes, half an hour. And sometimes it takes even longer than that, right? Days of analyzing, especially a tournament game, I'd say.
Yeah. No, I imagine this. You have a 9-round tournament. And you're trying to do well, you're trying to gain rating points, you prepare for each game for hours. And then you play the tournament, you get home, and what most people do, they've already checked their games with the engine, and then they start preparing for the next tournament. But in those 9 games, you have so much data, you have so much information you can deduce useful things from, you can extract your mistakes from, you can work on, that not using that information and spoiling it by turning on the engine is just it's stupid. It's wasting resources. Now, sure, people's argument often is, but okay, what about Gukesh and Prague? They are 17, 18, 19. They were born in the engine era. They became 2700s by using the engine. Okay, but that's a different type of brain. It's a child. They are able to absorb stuff. They also had multiple coaches. They had teams of grandmasters working with them. But for us mortals, whose brain plasticity, isn't like a 9-year-old's, we have to do as much as we can to learn from our mistakes. So when I say that if a tournament game lasts 4 hours, it's very likely going to take much longer than that to analyze it. That's true, because say you contemplated playing, knight f6 instead of knight d7. In the game, you ended up playing knight d7. Now, why were you debating that decision during the game? How much time did you spend? What was the actual difference? Can you deduce that without using the engine? Can you deduce whether playing knight d7 instead of knight f6 led to any consequent trouble in the game? Maybe the trouble was obvious. Maybe your opponent pinned your knight and ended up, weakening your structure. So some of the moves are easy, but they're going to be very, very difficult moves to extract anything from. And I'll give you an example of what I spend most time on. Positions I felt uncomfortable in, and I couldn't find an easy plan to follow in. So during one of my tournament games, I'd spent 45 minutes. I didn't know what to do. During analysis, I spent 3 hours on that position. I still didn't know what to do. Then I called my friend, who's a FIDE master. He looked at the position with me. After an hour, we'd come up with some ideas, but none of them really, led to anything concrete. Then we used the engine, and there are 5 moves that are 0, 0, 0, 0. But my position was very difficult to play. I ended up almost losing the game. So if during one game you have 3 or 4 moments like that, you're going to waste a lot of time during the actual game, but during analysis, you're going to waste 3 notebooks writing down ideas. Now, if you don't do that, how do you expect to be better prepared for a similarly difficult situation in the future? Are you going to get a great coach who's going to do the work for you? Are you going to turn on the engine and pretend that you're going to memorize 1,000 intricate details that determine the nature of that position and think you're going to be able to apply it? Well, that's crazy. Both of those things are crazy. So analyzing a game takes a long time. And it's actually connected to what I say to all of my students when they ask me to work with me. If we do work together, your progress is going to depend on working with me. I mean, me working with you isn't going to contribute to more than 5% of your progress because of the work you do on your own. So if I talk to my student during a lesson and describe what I think about the position, that's going to help them, but not as much if they did the work on their own. So yeah, to answer your question very briefly, analyzing a game should take a long time because your goal while analyzing your own game or anyone's game is to get as much as you can from it.
And I'm assuming, got to be careful about assuming, but I'm assuming that it's really the people that are serious about chess that know that.
Some of them might not. I mean, there are grandmasters who are really awful at theoretical rook hand games. And I'm sure there are grandmasters who, turn on the engine and get to 2600 anyway. People are different. But for people who aren't extremely talented, nor have they started very young, I assume that everything's important. You're not going to miss a single way of improving. So I think determined improvers are aware of that, whether they are 2000, 1500, or 2500. And Sam Shankland is actually a good example. He was, already one of the top guys in the US. He was then, top 20 in the world. But he only began working very, very seriously to get from when he was trying to get from, I think, 2400 until he got to 2700. And he used to work with Jakob Agard, and Agard was introducing his training methods and all of that. So he's an example of a guy who actually worked hard and didn't rely purely on natural talent.
Yeah, I think I'm hoping the doctor got as much out of the one tournament we played together, the last one, when we went over his games. We play differently. So we get to the same bad chess player, but totally different paths. And he showed me his game, and I'm like, well, you could have won here, and you could have done here, and you could have won here, which was great because we were able to help each other, and even better for me because I got to torture him over 3 times that he could have won the game, and he just didn't see it. And it's just because we just look at the game differently.
Yeah, and that's the benefit of analyzing with someone. I think that's, one of the top 3 training methods because firstly, it's fun, it's very engaging, it's never going to get boring, especially if it's someone you like talking to about normal stuff. Then you're going to love talking to them about chess. And everyone thinks differently, whether your sparring or training partner is weaker or stronger than you, it doesn't matter. It's enjoyable, but in different ways. And yeah, I think that's great. And yeah.
I find out that sometimes it's harder to find players that are better than you that that will, analyze with you or talk about the game. Um,
All you have to do is lose to them.
I
I found
did.
that.
Well, yeah. It's interesting that's right. I think that's right. But it would be great if and I don't know how this can happen in tournaments because the minute the game's over and I notice like whether I'm watching it or playing a tournament where you got to talk really low, but it'd be great if you could there was some and maybe there is in the big tournaments where you can go somewhere else with that player and then analyze, if there was an analyzation room.
Yes, some tournaments have that, and you
Okay.
have. I mean, it's not a room for analysis. It's 5 or 6 boards in a corner somewhere, but it's
Right.
still okay. But you can.
Yeah.
I remember playing. Yeah, I remember playing David Alberto, who is a 3-time or 2-time Italian champion, a grandmaster, and we were playing in the first round of the Barcelona Suns tournament. I had the black pieces in the Caro-Kann, and I drew the game. And I was really excited because he was the first top GM that I managed to draw. And we came outside and I just started talking about the game. And I actually thought he was better at several points. So another good strategy is to say, well, didn't you have an advantage here? Blah, blah, blah. So you can just, if you can play blindfolded, that helps. I always, after the game, analyze the games with my opponents because most of them can analyze the position without the board. So that's helpful too. If you cannot do that, I'd advise you to just say, do you want to get a drink and analyze.
Yeah.
I don't think either one of us can play blindfolded. Sometimes we look like we're blindfolded with some
Yeah.
of the moves, but it's not on purpose,
Never. I'm working on it though. I'm working on
Yeah.
it every day.
Working hard, working hard.
It's just a matter of practice. One of my friends thought that me and my friend who were playing a blindfold game were, magicians, and he's really smart, extremely smart. And I said, I bet I could teach you how to play, not play chess well, but play blindfolded chess poorly in a week. And he was actually able to do that. So it's just a matter of skill.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's on my list of things to do. Unfortunately, when you're at the level we're at, the list is nearly infinite. And the bad thing is, as I learn more, I find more things that I don't know. So it's just like
Yeah.
the hole just keeps getting further and further away.
Yeah. But that's what it's like with any type of knowledge. But chess is perhaps a bit more specific because it's very hard to determine whether you got to use what you were studying. I mean, there are obvious examples. You study rook and pawn endgames, and then you win a rook and pawn endgame. Great, but how are you going to measure, strategic understanding or tactical skill? That's very difficult. But blindfold training is surprisingly useful in tournament games. At least I found that because say you're imagining the position 3 or 4 moves deep, and you do get to see the board, but you don't get to see the position 3 or 4 moves down the line. Doing blindfold training enables you to do that quicker and more precisely. So it's a good training method.
What
Do you
level do you think you should be at to try that or to
Well,
start to try that?
I think that's a completely separate skill to playing chess. It's, I mean, you can try to solve a Rubik's cube blindfolded. It's the same skill. It doesn't have to be chess. You can try to, rearrange your kitchen utensils blindfolded. It's the same skill. It doesn't have anything to do with playing chess. If you know the rules of chess, you can play blindfolded if you're good at it. And I would do that every day in the shower, every day. And I take, 15, 20-minute showers. I would start with king and pawn versus king. And I did that for at least a week. Then I did king and pawn versus king and pawn. Then I did king and 2 versus king and 1. And in about 6 months, I was able to start and play a full game against myself. So you don't start by, at least I didn't start by, E4, C5 and doing a whole game. It was just 3 pieces on the board. And everyone can keep track of 3 pieces.
Yeah, I heard that when you were, I think that was one of your recent videos. You started telling me that, and I'm like, even I could do that. Maybe, I think, or maybe not perfectly the first time, but I think I could. It's like a level of aspiration that's not like way out of reach. Because I'm sitting there, sometimes we both belong in the chess dojo, and they'll be like, memorize this game, and I'm like, in my head going, why? And into my head, I'm going, that's a lot of moves. And in my head going, I think there's something better I could use my time on. And it's kind of like, once you start questioning it, it's over. Like it just doesn't work. So I don't know.
I mean, there are many things you could question, of course, compared to, I don't know, solving the Strait of Hormuz thing. Memorizing a chess game is useless, but if you want to do it, you do it. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter whether it's useless to other people.
True. True.
Yeah, indeed. So I don't know if it's fair because, like I said, I came into chess relatively recently, a little over a year, well, getting close to two. Um, it seems like your online presence seems to be aimed mostly at openings or opening studies, at least a good percentage of it. Is there, because I'm not I'm not trying to get into what to study, but like how to study. Like, is there a way to study or a better way to study to try and acclimate yourself to a particular opening? Because, just brute force memorization, looking up mind palaces, just play the game against the computer 600 times and, just play the first 10 moves. And, there's so many ways that my crazy brain can come up with to try and do that. But you seem to have a high proclivity at opening, so maybe you've figured out like at least what works for you.
Well, the YouTube channel, the opening content there, and my own opening study have nothing to do with each other. First of all, so the reason I started recording openings was when I was first starting out in 2016. I was watching King's Crusher. That's an old YouTube channel. And there was there was an American guy showing things on an actual board with magnet pieces. I don't remember the name. And I tried searching for some openings because I was trying to figure out what I was going to play. And there was no structured way to see which openings existed. And there were no good playlists that would cover any opening in detail, let alone all of them. And that was at the same time where I decided to, not continue studying archaeology, but play chess. And I was, I was employed, but I didn't really have a career if I wasn't going to do archaeology. So I decided to combine chess and creating something that hasn't been created yet. So the openings playlist that started in 2018, actually, is not how I approach openings. It's the basic of each opening and of each variation, which is the goal is to give people a basic overview of each opening. And my opening study is completely different. I believe in two principles when both determining what you're going to play and studying openings. Firstly, you should play what suits your style or that you enjoy. Now, personally, I've been playing the Caro-Kann and the Semi-Slav for years because I'm a coward over the chessboard. I don't enjoy dynamic positions. I don't like risky positions. I like controlling things. I like static stuff. And recently, I've switched to completely different openings, the Dutch, the Bird, the Sicilian, because I'm trying to get better in dynamic chess. So choosing an opening, do that purely by what you enjoy most, as long as it's sound. Now, studying openings, I don't think should be done at all. Unless you're on a very high level or preparing for a game. What do I mean by that? If I have a game, I had that game against David Alberto I told you about. So his GM, he is the Italian champion. He has 2,000 games on ChessBase. And I went through probably 500 of them. And I studied his style. I studied all of the variations. So preparing for a single game and choosing one variation and getting very good at it is a different thing to building your repertoire at home for most online players. So for most people who are just trying to learn openings, as in all openings, or choose a repertoire and build a repertoire, I believe in determining what you're going to play and doing two things. Firstly, playing games in those openings and just looking at where you went wrong. That's going to be fun. It's going to give you immediate feedback. You can correct your mistakes. It doesn't have to be 90 plus 30 games. It could be 10-minute games. And then secondly, say you want to play the Sicilian Sveshnikov as black. Chessgames.com, Sicilian Sveshnikov, black wins, download 1,000 games and go through them. You don't have to analyze them, taking 5 hours per game. You just have to see the opening ideas. And then when you see an idea you like, you try to implement it into your own play. And that's opening study has to be engaging. I really believe that. And the easiest way is to just choose your openings, play them, play them, play them, play them, play them, play them, and you're going to get better.
Okay. Because the when I was doing it, I was trying to figure out what opening I wanted because people were saying, you should at least have a little bit of an opening, like just an understanding. Because I'd walk into, I got so beaten by um, tricks and traps that I was afraid, that they would play something where they sacrifice something in order to get better position or an advantage in development or something like that. And I was so worried that I was going to get caught by them. I wouldn't even take the piece that they wanted me to take. So they were getting everything they wanted plus the piece or the pawn. And it was just like, so I had to come up with stuff. And I tried doing a Google search because somewhere in my DNA, I didn't get the genes that told me what a pick a name for a chess opening was, what that meant. So they were all like they were either places or animals or these crazy things, and it never told me anything. Like everybody's like, oh, play this person's name, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. So I said chess opening beginner development white, like maximize development for white, and Google is no help whatsoever in helping you pick out an opening. So it was just eventually I just played enough games that when I was doing the chess review, I think might have been on chess.com, it would say at the end of when I got out of what they called book, which I refer to as pamphlet, because it's not a book. It looks like I like to play the Scotch. My wife is Scottish. Okay, we're playing the Scotch. We played the Scotch. It sounds great. But was that the best opening for me? Does it fit my personality? Is it what I no idea. I just wanted an opening that followed opening principles. The first, get to the center, develop, and get your king safe. And I'm like, which one of those openings? And there's no like board for that. So I was lost, and I got my head beat in because let me tell you, the Sicilian and we don't get along. It's terrible. I'm like 10% versus the Sicilian. And those are only because the people like lost their connection or something. I think I might be over. So I got out of the Scotch and I had no idea what to do. And then I just got back to where the doctor was just beating me over the head with a club. So it's hard to not know anything about chess and pick an opening because they're like, well, make sure it fits your personality. I'm like, I don't even know if I have a personality. My wife says it's questionable, so it's so hard when you don't know what everything that you don't know to pick these things that sound like, if you've played chess for a while, they probably sound trivial, but you know, it's not. At least it wasn't for me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you how I picked my first openings. Maybe that's going to help.
Yeah,
So
great.
it was 2016. I came back from Poland where I was finishing my master's, and I fell in love with chess, came here, joined the chess club, met a guy, Mate Blažeka, who is a FIDE master. My friend used to be my coach for a while, and we would play these blitz tournaments every Tuesday in the club. Those were unrated. That was my first, over the board experience with any sort of serious competition. And I would get my ass kicked all the time because they were all, titled guys.
Mm.
And I was unrated. And a few months later, Mate calls me and says, do you want to play the finals of the Croatian Cup? And I said, sure. What's that? I had no idea. And it's one of the biggest tournaments in Croatia. Many, many grandmasters, all the top teams compete for the cup. And they didn't have enough players. My team at the time didn't have enough players, so I came as board 4. And the first day, the day of the first round, or the evening before, Mate told me, oh, you're playing this guy. He plays the Sicilian. It was actually an older Croatian FIDE master. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm prepared against that because I would play C3. And the first game I ever played was an Alpine Sicilian. I never played it after that. I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know anything about it. And I actually got to a rook and pawn endgame against the FIDE master, but he had 5 against 4 and won. The second day I had black, and I had nothing with black. Mate said, you're going to play this. This is called the Semislav. I said, okay. What do I do on move 3? He said, do this. What do I do on move 4? He said, do this. And we went on. He prepared me for about half an hour. The third day, he told me you're going to play this. Then the fourth day, he told me you're going to play this, and so on for 6 rounds. And the openings he'd suggested in 2016 were my repertoire until 3 years ago.
Mm.
So, at least in my experience, what you learn first sort of sticks. And I don't think I'd have memorized those openings or even remembered what I played unless it was very engaging. Because
Mm.
on day 3 of that tournament, I was up a full night against a 2021 100 rated guy. I was playing a very good game, then I got mated. Then I called my mom and cried. Then I called my fiance and cried. And I will always remember that game. So if it's a very traumatic experience, you're going to remember, or if it's a very memorable experience. So I think you just need to do the most basic thing. Say, okay, you can ask Google or AI or whatever openings for white, choose one, and you're going to be done. You cannot just say the Scotch. You have to decide what to do against C5, what to do against G6, C6,
It's
E6,
not the
and that's very
Scotch.
easy. What do you play now against D5?
Well, I think the doctor and I, through independent paths, have somehow managed to wander into the land of King's Indian, and
Well,
so
you cannot do that with white against E5.
no, I know it's part of the fun. So so there's a I don't know what doctor's solution was, but I started playing this. First move was knight F3. I think
Mhm.
it's a
Oh, King's Indian attack.
ready derivative. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. No, that's great. That's great. I
So,
mean,
because it
what's your
gets me out
current
of
rating?
Scotland. I mean, I'm sorry, it gets me out of Sicilian land, which is just a hell for
Yeah.
me. Oh, I'm sorry, what were you saying, sir?
What's your current rating?
I think we're both in the 700s. I think I'm a little bit higher just because the doctor doesn't get out as much. You know, the snow globe keeps him snowed in, 24/7. So,
So I mean, on your level, it doesn't really matter what you play.
yeah,
It doesn't matter on my level either, but
it matters more to me than it really does, I'm sure. So,
yeah. So you could just choose a very simple setup, and there are multiple setups you can play whatever black does.
Mm,
And you can play them with both colors. And some good examples are the Dutch setup, where with white you play f4, with black you play f5, and it is the same opening. With
right.
white it's called the bird, with black it's called the Dutch. And you can play the same Dutch or bird against anything. You can also play the King's Indian attack and the King's Indian defense.
Yep.
You can play the
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 Stonewall
London
does that
system
too,
with
right?
both colors. Yeah, you can play the stone wall. You can play the Nimzo opening with both colors. There are many openings you can play with both colors, where you can play basically the same moves, whatever the other side does.
Hmm.
And I think that would simplify the process a lot, because the openings don't matter. If you understand it, you're going to beat your opponent in it. It doesn't matter what it's called. It doesn't matter what the moves are.
Yeah, it's
I'm,
more just to get to the middle game.
Yeah.
I'm both. Is it? I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Nocti or Nocti? How do you
Nocti, yeah.
Nocti? Both on Nocti and Chessiverse. You know
Mhm.
Chessiverse?
Yeah, yeah.
I play games just to practice that opening, and I just play this King's Indian attack and the King's Indian defense over and over and over and over again, and it's been actually it's helping me. Both of those websites have helped me, and that's all. Just play these 15-10 minute games to, and every once in a while to throw up, a different variation. And so, okay, I need to know this, and it's actually fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah. Training games are the best things you think you can do, and with Nocti and other platforms that offer something different to just playing an engine, you get pretty close to actual training experience you'd get against a human. And I use them all the time when I prep for tournament games. I'm going to find difficult positions that are likely to come up, and I'll just play them over and over and over again.
I believe it was on one of your videos. You had said, I might be wrong. I listen to too much, way too much. I probably should do less listening and more playing. But um, is there a facility or a application where you can just drill against an opening? Like if I want to play, let's say I want to work on the King's Indian and I'm having trouble with Shoot, I forgot the town. Austrian response to it. But if I just play like against a random bot, the bot can do whatever. They just don't listen to me. I keep telling them play the Austrian, let me practice, but it's like they don't have ears. Is there a way to do that so you could, one that's particularly a problem for you, perhaps?
Yeah, I do that on Octave. I
Oh,
mean,
Nocti. Okay, that was what I thought, but I wasn't sure.
yeah,
Okay.
you can create repertoires. You can create as many as you want, and for each repertoire, you can create chapters. So, let's say you want to practice the King's Indian. You have 40 chapters as black, and just select the one you want to play. You can also create sub chapters or whatever you want. You can start from a specific position and just play that out. So, yeah, I'm sure there are others, but I use
Yeah.
Octave.
No, that's fine. It's probably the simplest path for me to get from my pamphlet to a book. I might be able to do it someday. Maybe.
Honestly, you don't need to do that. Do whatever you find most fun, but make sure you have your setup right. If you play a system opening like knight f3 and you go into the King's Indian attack,
Hmm.
that's very simple. What I would focus on is key games in that opening. For example, now, do you know, you probably don't, and I'm sorry for bringing this up, but this is
It's
one of
okay.
my favorite games. Fischer Mjagmarsuren. It's the game from the Olympiad, a very famous game where Fischer played the King's Indian attack.
I know he's a
And
King Indian player I'm supposed to watch. I just haven't gotten into that yet.
yeah, but
I know of the game,
he
but I have not studied the game.
yeah, you should study that game. And that game is a perfect example of a King's Indian attack that goes perfectly according to plan. And looking at games like that, and not, but it's useless to memorize a game, just learn the patterns. Having those in mind is going to help you come up with similarly good ideas during your own games, even if they don't work. I mean, you're playing 700 rated guys.
Yeah, I
Those
don't need
ideas,
much, right?
yeah. All you need is a better plan, even
Yeah.
if it's unsound.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the challenge, though. I'd say that that's somewhat true because in a tournament that I was in, I played uh, two people that were 700 below, and yes, I won. But I also played an 1800 and a 1600.
That were
You
unrated.
know, well, no, that was the second tournament. The first tournament they
Oh,
were
first
rated
tournament. Yeah, yeah.
FIDA 1800, 1600, and I held my own. I mean, it was a good game, and they spoke to me afterwards, and that was nice of them, and but it's you don't just play players lower than, and you know this obviously because you play against grandmasters, and so I wish I just played players at my level or below, and
Don't say that. You
I
don't
know,
want
I
that.
know. I mean, I was just thinking point wise. I know in reality I don't, and I did, and I learned so much from those two games, from those higher rated players, and that I actually learned not only mistakes, but I learned how much progress I made as well that I've been making against higher rated players. Like losing to the 1650 guy three, even though I had three chances to win. So yeah.
I mean, there's another upside of playing high-rated players, which I I both love and hate that feeling. So you're playing, I don't know, someone 4, 5, 600 points rated than you. And I remember vividly playing this international master from Kazakhstan in the Serbia Open a couple of years ago. So we're playing this end game, and it's knight and bishop versus knight and bishop, 2 pawns each, or 1 pawn each. And it's a dead draw. He's down to 3 minutes. I'm down to, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. He doesn't want to draw. He has to beat me. He has 2,400. And I'm not thinking this is a dead draw. I'm thinking I'm going to lose. And you see it in his eyes. I mean, it's not the easiest draw, but it's a draw. I would hold if I were, rested and not anxious and not stressed by the game. I ended up losing that game. But that feeling of seeing it in his eyes, I'm going to beat you, I don't care. And you see that, you begin to see that as soon as the stronger guy realizes that the position is equal. And that feeling of, oh, he's going to try to kill me now, but it's equal, so I should hold. And you get that fear of, spoiling a perfectly good position just because he wants it more. That's to
Yeah.
me, that's a very rewarding feeling. I learn a lot.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, I think the problem the doctor and I most of the time we're over the board. It's like we're playing a barbell. We've got, 2,000 plus people and we've got 700, 800 down people and there's nothing in the middle. Like my second game ever over the board, I think the guy was 2,300 or 2,400. It didn't go well.
That was my first game. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, ow, that hurt a lot. I know what that I'd read a book and they said it was like being squeezed by an anaconda. I was like, yeah, I know what that feels like now. It was terrible. No fun.
Yeah.
But
I wanted
Yeah.
to I wanted to ask you about the videos you've done about training, your actual training. I just wondering the part in there about tactics. I saw your schedule, tactics, but I might have missed this. Where do those tactics come from? Is it from, is it tactics 1 and 2 on Chessable? Is it from positions from games? I'm curious. And how many do you do at a time?
Uh, how many I do depends on how well I do and how much time I have. So my daily goal is to get 10 correct, which since I'm solving stuff that's slightly above my head, my completion rate is going to be about 60%, 60 to 70. So it should take me about, 15 puzzles or 15 problems at most to get to 10. Now, I time myself and I give myself 15 minutes to half an hour for each, depending on how much the previous ones took. So I'm sort of pretending that I'm playing an actual game, so on.
Mm-hmm.
And I mostly use hand-picked material from books.
Okay.
And because it's very difficult to find a high-level stuff that's not, how do I put this? I'm about 2,700 on leeches puzzles, something like that. And some of them are good, some of them are awful.
yes.
And of course, there are no explanations to any of them. And the worst part is not that my candidate move or my move was wrong. I know that. But sometimes it's difficult to deduce why it was wrong or why the idea was wrong. So what I have to do is I have to turn on the engine or spend a lot of time. I choose to spend a lot of time. So what I do is I use material from books because usually a good author is going to say, if you were thinking of playing bishop b5, that doesn't work because blah, 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 blah. And books are also good because at the end of each problem solution, you don't just hear, again, if it's a good book, you don't just hear the author say, okay, this is good because it wins a pawn or whatever, but he actually evaluates the final position even if the material situation doesn't change. And they tend to explain the dynamics of the position, which is very useful to me. So I will choose my problems from, let's say, Wojciech Moranda's Statics and Dynamics, which is a puzzle book way above my head, for example. Or I used to use Jakob Agart's calculation. So if I can, I will use hand-picked materials annotated by very good coaches and GMs. If not, I'll just solve leeches stuff on my phone. But that's when I have no time for anything serious.
Right.
Yeah, I find that one of my I agree, I totally agree with you. That's why I like books better. And I grew up, when I played chess the first time around without any engines, and there was one chess book in my school library, and and so that these websites don't, except Nocti, I feel like does, and when you play these games, it doesn't explain the why,
Yeah.
And that's for me, that's problematic because I don't really, and Bill can attest to that the engine and technology is not my friend. And it's much more of a book person and board person, playing that out that way. And so trying to find I need to know the why. Okay, I get that it's wrong because I lost this or whatever, but why is it wrong? And it'll tell you, did you think about, or you should have done this move? Okay, but why?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, sure. I agree with that. And the lower rated the problems are, the easier it is to do that and to deduce that on your own. I mean, let's say you make a mistake on a 1500 rated problem. Oh, you hung your knight because whatever. That's easy to see.
Right.
But the higher you go, you really start needing a coach.
Yeah.
To do that, or I mean, I don't mean having lessons with a coach, but a book as a coach, having someone explain.
And then just one other thing. Sorry, Bill, I keep talking, but I
wonder. Keep going, please.
Okay, I'm really interested in the middle game. That's really something that that's where I keep making the same mistakes. If I can get through that to the end game, which used to be my problem, I'm much better at. But and I was worrying about, the resources. I know I saw you on, I think it was Ben Johnson's, and you went through, different levels, but I don't remember anything. If you were going to recommend something or a way to do it, even if not a book or something on middle games, on how to, to get through your opening to the middle game, to get to the next, whatever's next. If you had anything
do you mean book suggestions,
or what you do, how do you practice the middle game? How do you train for your middle game?
Yeah, I mean,
you might not. I don't know. I'm just curious.
So I have a very, very big problem with dynamics. So I'm mostly focusing on dynamics. So I'm trying to find specific games and specific resources on very fluid positions. On your level, it's very likely that you need to work on all aspects of the middle game. So what I do right now probably isn't applicable. But I can recommend two great books, which, despite what most people think, I found very applicable for almost any rating. I know that many of my students who were rated, from 900 to 1700 at the time found them useful. They might not have completed all the problems, but that doesn't matter. The first one is Pawn Structures by Flores Rios. That's a very easy book to read and a very easy book to understand, especially for the structures Mauricio has been playing himself. So the King's Indian structure and the E6 Sicilians, Can Taimano and stuff like that, where he's had a lot of experience. So they are based on 28, I think, most common structures. The book is divided by, French type 1, 2, Najdorf type 1, Caro-Kann, blah, blah, blah. And for each book, he gives very applicable advice. So that book is great to introduce yourself to different structures. And then the second book, which is way more difficult, and it's actually a problem book, is Positional Play by Jakob Aagaard. That's not very different to his strategic play, but even if you don't solve any of the problems, but just look at them over a board and read the solutions, you will learn a lot. And they're from very, very simple patterns, like, blocking. So say your opponent has pawns on a6 and b7 as black, and you put a pawn on a5. So that pawn on a5 is blocking two of black's pawns, the one on a6 and the one on b7. That's now backward. So from very simple stuff like that to very high level stuff with very difficult pawn breaks and stuff like that, you can find in that book. So if I had to recommend resources, I would recommend that, but I wouldn't recommend resources at all to begin with.
Right.
I'll tell you what I did, and this is actually something I came up with Matej Blažeka, the guy who introduced me to tournament chess. We came up with this idea to take a random tournament. We took some tournament from Hungary, took all the games. I don't know how many there were, 400 something. Set all the games in ChessBase to move 20 for white. So it's, let's say, somewhere in the middle game, things are heating up, but they aren't simple yet for the majority of the games. We ended up discarding all the simple recaptures. If move 20 for white was recaptured the pawn, then we didn't do that. And we had about 350 positions left. And what we did is we solved all of them 3 times, once using 1 minute on the clock, which was supposed to bring out or highlight how useful and how accurate our intuition was. The second time on 3 minutes, and the third time on half an hour, which would, sort of replicate a very complex position during a tournament game. And the results were astonishing, at least for me. very often my 1 minute solution would be the same as my 30-minute solution. And very often my mistake would be the same. I'd make the same mistake in all 3 time formats because it was just a blind spot. So then first I took positions that I got wrong in all 3 time formats and tried to see what I had in common. And then when I saw that, I tried to see what I have in common, and most of them were, again, dynamic positions. Then when I did the second tournament, and I did that without Mate and many more after that, I would try to correct my mistakes. And after a while, I began understanding many middle game concepts and patterns on an intuitive level. And I believe if you give me a very slow static position now, I could play against much higher rated players, on their level. But if you give me a very dynamic position, I might lose to a 1700. But back then, I could have lost to a 1200 because I was awful. So I did make progress. I'm not as good as at the stuff I was already good at, but that's a very good way to determine your weak spots, and it's very fun. It's very fun.
Right.
And especially if you do it with someone. So let's say you two do the same 100 positions. That's great. You can compare your solutions.
Yeah. Awesome.
Right.
Thank you.
We got some work to do, Doctor.
Lots of work to do.
This is something we knew.
Hope I can live long enough.
I know. So, we talked about annotation, and both the doctor and I do annotation, but I think we do it a little differently, and I think the best annotations we do is when we do them together. Do you have any tips going back to annotation? Because it was kind of on the latest video that I saw. Again, I'm in an internet desert right now. You had playing good long tournament games and annotating the games kind of in a 1-2, 2-1, pick your poison, which one was best. Do you have any tips or techniques for how to do it? Because it's one thing to say you're annotating a game, but sometimes I know I didn't fully comprehend, and I probably still don't, what that meant, and maybe our listeners might have the same issue in that telling somebody to annotate is different than knowing what that means.
Sure. Do you mean analyze?
Yeah.
Okay. So annotating games, first of all, is different, and it's great, but I wouldn't call it the analysis I was talking about during that video.
Okay, so I got that wrong already.
No, yeah, annotating games is also useful, but
Okay.
it's a different thing. And remind me to talk about that later if you want.
Sure.
So analyzing a game is a process, and the main goal of that process is to get to the bottom of each position. Okay, so your goal, ideally, which is utopian, it's never going to happen, is to figure out what's going on in position, what your opponent is trying to do, where the weakness is, what are the weak squares, what are the potential pawn breaks, and to have all of that influence your decision making and the move you're going to make. So if you manage to understand all the key factors in a position, then your move is probably going to be, correct. It's going to be good. It might not be the best move, but it's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. So your goal is not to calculate a bunch of lines unless that's required. It's to understand what needs to be done, what's going on, and to make a move based on that. And the way you do that is differs from in different stages of the game. So we're going to take the middle game because that's the most complex part. So how I approach that is I use the rule of 3 types of positions, which I believe exist in the middle game. The first are very simple positions, and those are positions that you can make a move in a minute or two. So there's an open E file, you play rook E1, otherwise your opponent's going to take the file. Or your opponent has a knight on C6. If they play knight B5, they're going to fork your queen on C7 and your bishop on D6, so you have to play A6. Or your opponent is about to play rook E8 check, the E file is open, your king is still on E1, so you castle. Those are simple decisions, and you have to make those moves. It's obvious to you and to me and to Magnus Carlsen. We're all going to make that. The second type of decision second type of position is what I call a brute force position. Those are positions where no amount of planning is going to help. You have to calculate your way out of something, and either you're going to miss a win or you're going to lose. You're going to lose your advantage or be much worse or whatever. And those positions you should approach very, very differently to simple positions, of course. And the third type of position is the most frequent type of position. Those are complex positions. They're positions for which most lower rated players are going to say, what do I do now? I'm here, what do I do? I don't know what to do. And those are positions in which no move is obvious. There are no immediate threats to parry. You don't have to play castles or a6 or rook e1. There's nothing simple to do. And there's nothing forcing going on. Nothing's hanging, nothing's weak. There's nothing to be won. So when I analyze games, the first thing I do is I determine what type of position I'm looking at. And if I didn't do that during the game consciously, which often happens, especially if I'm lower on time or whatever else, I do that during analysis, and then I try to apply the principles that are required for that type of position. For a simple position, I will, list all the candidate moves. I will make some checks whether something's hanging. If I have to, I will check something using calculation, but normally I will analyze those positions very, very briefly and just make the obvious move. Analysis for very complex positions is different, and that requires a lot of planning. It doesn't require a lot of calculation. So I'll give you an example. So you're playing the King's Indian as black. You have a pawn on g6, and you're going to play f5. Okay, you're going to start attacking my king. That's also on the king side. Right. So if I'm white, what I have to account for when analyzing that position is the possibility of you playing f5. And then I have to consider what happens if I take on f5. What happens if you take on e4? What happens if you push f4? Okay, so that's just one thing. You playing f5 in a very recognizable, famous type of position. Then what's going on the other side of the board? Do you have a pawn on a5? Are you going to play whatever? There are many, many things you have to consider when planning things. Then what I'm going to do is, based on what I think you want to do, I'm going to decide whether I have to defend or if I have time to do something active. Now, if I have to defend, if I determine that I have to defend against f5 or whatever else, I'm going to start calculating actual lines. And I'm going to analyze the possibilities of your attack being successful. What does f5 being successful mean? Do you win a pawn? Do you win a piece? Do you win space? Do you win a square? Do you open up my king? So all of that comes during analysis. It ideally should come during gameplay as well, but it normally doesn't. Now, if I don't need to defend against anything, I'm going to try to come up with active plans. And then once again, if that requires calculation, I'm going to do that. Now, the calculation itself is the same for complex positions and the brute force positions. You simply have to calculate lines, and analyzing a game is the same as playing a game. You don't move the pieces, okay? You don't do anything that you wouldn't do during an actual game. You just have more time to do it. Your time is unlimited. So what I'm going to do in a very dynamic position is I'm going to spend a lot of time calculating all the lines, sitting over the board and visualizing. And then I'm going to test that by doing the same thing while moving the pieces. So that's how I analyze positions. That's conceptually how I do it. How I actually do it, I have no idea, because if I'm not fully concentrated, then I'm not successful. And if I am fully concentrated, I have no idea what I was actually doing. So
right.
That's what I think I'm doing.
Yeah. It's like the Heisenberg principle. You can't know something by measuring it, because measuring it changes it. So
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I get you. So you said you wanted to go back to the difference between that and annotating a game.
Yeah. And annotations are very useful, but and I will normally do that in my second run through a game, because I keep notes on all of my games, and that's just writing down the ideas and where I went wrong, what I could have done better, what I should do the next time in that position, comparing that position to similar games. It's basically like reading a chess book, but poorly written, because I'm not as good as the other guys. So I do that. I tend to do that for all of my games at some point.
Okay.
But that's what I wanted to say is you're not allowed to do that during a game. So it's not analysis. It's what you do outside of tournament conditions.
Right. Yeah. I guess, I could go for another 10 hours. I'm trying to be respectful of your time, but I got one more. I got like
You
20
can
more.
go as long as you want. It's
Uh,
okay.
I don't. I've already kept you up, so we screwed up. When you said Central Time, I thought it was Central U.S. time, so I was all
No,
messed up. But
oh no, it's Central European time.
I know I'm dumb. Whatever.
No, it's 9 p.m. It's not late. It's
Oh,
9 p.m.
Okay.
okay, okay. Yeah, it
I'm,
is. Okay, yeah, it's 3 o'clock here at the on the East Coast, so it's yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not
6
terrible.
hours.
Not terrible. Okay, so it seems to me that there is a plague in chess, and I don't know that it's good. And it's besides me being a bad player. It seems like there's if there's 1,000 people, there's probably more actually, but then I'm just choosing 1,000. If there's 1,000 people trying to help you with your chess game, 990 of them are aimed at making your knowledge get better, and maybe 10 of them might be working on something that's skill related. And I think I know I'm probably doing it. Well, let me rephrase that. I know I'm doing it, but I think the skill, if you look at it in terms of the benefits of time and the benefit in terms of the effect on your game, I think it's actually almost the opposite in terms of what you should do and what you could do. Am I missing something?
No, you're not, because there's no way for someone recording a video for YouTube or writing a book to actually develop your skill. There's no
Mm.
way for them to do that. This is the best they can do, but there are many resources that give a disclaimer that says you need to do stuff to make
Yeah,
progress
yeah.
and you need to apply this. So it's your fault and it's my fault and it's every chess player's fault that they're not transferring knowledge into a skill. It's just you two guys have each other. You also have a chessboard, and there's no need for you to not practice efficiently. So it's very easy to develop to be developing a skill, and it doesn't take much more than just recreating what you're trying to get good at. Do
Hmm.
stuff over a board. So it's your fault, and it's
I
my
know.
fault.
Well, it's
Yeah.
in the last 6 months, and Bill knows this, that I jettisoned. I'm a big believer in less is more. And so I jettisoned all this other stuff that I thought was little by little or a lot by lot, distracting me and trying to I do the same things, very few things every day. It looks actually like a lot like your training, except at a very much lower level. But I do these same things over and over every day because I'm more interested in skill. I have a ton of books, a ton of video, but I don't watch videos very much. I just started feeling like there's way too much information out there, and I'm getting sucked in. I'm getting suckered or sucked into it. I don't know which one into it all. And I jettisoned anyone that made promises, or just talked about rating improvement. Rating improvement's great, but I want chess improvement. And
Yeah.
there's a difference. And I found that out myself because I jumped really well. And then it's caught up to me. And I'm like, yeah, I've been doing the things I need to do. So that's why I'm where I am. I need to get back to doing these same things, whether it's, the number of puzzles, the number of all that stuff. And starting, easy and having that grow to the harder stuff, but being honest with where I am. I think that's another thing. I think we do get in the way because our egos get in the way, and I think playing tournaments, and I'm trying to work my life to get to that, because there's really not much room for ego when you play in tournaments,
Yeah.
is there? Yeah, especially at my level.
On any
You
level.
Perhaps that's true. I wouldn't know, but you would know. So
Hopefully.
I believe you. I trust you. That I think that's why, to me, that turn, and that's why I got back into it. I played when I was in high school, and then I didn't play for 30 some years. And so, and boy, chess world has changed. But I got back into it to play tournaments because that's what I remember. That's where I had the most fun. That's where I learned. That's where I did really well when I was a youth in chess. but I think I struggled because I tried everything instead of just focusing on what was really important. That's why I appreciate the website and the hanging pawns. I think you're trying to get to to focus on what's important.
Yeah, but again, a huge disclaimer. I have no idea whether I'm right or not.
No, but that's what I
That,
like about it too, though. It's not about everybody else is without the disclaimers. It makes it seem like they know what, they don't take into the account that we're all different.
yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely correct about getting rid of the unnecessary stuff. And I mean, I always remember watching that Bobby Fischer documentary, and I don't know if you guys read the Bobby Fischer and His World,
Yeah.
the new book. I mean, he became really good before he was 8 or 9. I mean, really good by our mortal people standards. And he joined the Marshall Chess Club or the Manhattan Chess Club. And he could play those guys there, and all he did before was play himself. So technically, you need a board,
Yeah.
and that's it. So yeah, I think you do need to get rid of all distractions and just practice. And I don't think there's a better thing you can do than play a game against someone and analyze it with them. And if you could do that over and over again, you'd do really well even without having access to the internet. You'd be better than most guys who have all the today's resources.
Yeah. Can I ask you about anxiety and playing in tournaments and how you deal with that, if you have any?
Yeah.
I can't imagine that you don't. I mean,
at first it was really tough. Actually, at first it was sort of tough. My first tournament won in 2016. I ended up crying after my round 2 game. I was devastated. Then I came home and I made a decision to play chess. And I'd just gotten a scholarship for a PhD, and I wanted to continue my studies in medieval archaeology. I was, going to write papers or whatever. I was sitting in my office at the time, and I told myself, okay, you want to play chess, play chess. So I decided to do that. And for the first 2 years, it was really tough to deal with the fact that I came from, I wasn't successful. I just finished my master's and I was going to be successful. But in chess, I was nothing. I was the 1600 rated guy. And that was very difficult to wrap my head around. And then in 2018, I started the YouTube channel in February. And very soon, for the first rounds of the Creation League in spring, maybe March, I began the Road to GM playlist. And even though there were maybe, I don't know, 50, 100, 1,000 people watching, I don't remember, it felt really, really strange putting my games out there. And I became really conscious of, I'm going to have to show this game, I better do well. And that was sort of added pressure. And then by the time the channel was maybe 2 years old, people began recognizing me and approaching me during games and looking at my games and commenting and stuff like that. Then I became really anxious. And then maybe a year later, after the COVID thing, I began being relaxed and not caring about what people think on the channel, but the chess anxiety got back. And I would always, before a game, want to be on my own. I still today, I walk to a tournament hall. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to sit by myself. If someone asks me a question, I need to reset that whole process. I'm going to walk out and be late for the game. Just, leave me alone. And my hands would sweat. I would pee maybe 10 to 15 times per game if it was a 5-hour game, and I would drink maybe a liter or 2 of water. So I would be really nervous until something happened last year, which put things into perspective. My sister got diagnosed with cancer. She's okay now. She's great. They took her thyroid out. Everything's great. But for those 6 months, I played chess just to distract myself. I played for fun. I still play tournaments. I played 2 tournaments and a couple of league games. They were perhaps my best tournaments ever. I played really well. I did not prepare at all. I would come to a game not knowing which color I'm playing, which has never happened before. I didn't care, and I had a lot of fun. I wasn't anxious at all. I was trying to beat everyone. I wasn't taking any draws, and that sort of stuck to my playing style today. That situation is over. I'm no longer anxious, and I feel great. So I had something put things into perspective.
I know it well, actually. I know it well.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So I try to ask this question to everybody whose opinion I respect. So here it's the longest question, and there is no right answer. So it's not like chess. It's no right answer. So pick any player in history, all of them, and they're all playing in a tournament. They were all coincidentally born the exact number of years ago to where they played their best chess. So they grew up with modern tools. They grew up, modern nutrition, whatever. All of it's the same. So if you say Bobby Fischer at 27 was his peak, 27 years ago, he magically was born, and they're all playing in a tournament. Who's going to win? Who's going to come in like top 3, top 4? Who do you think? Because Elo doesn't do it because it's relative to your peers. It's not a measurement of your skill. It's not a measurement of your chess. And doctors like, what's Elo? But who do you think, in your opinion, would be in there fighting for the top?
Present day players included?
Everybody, everybody.
Okay, so I still have to decide on the actual places. Okay, I would definitely include Fischer, Karpov, Rubinstein, Magnus Carlsen. I would include Garry Kasparov. I would include Karpov. I would include Smyslov. I would include Morozevich.
We got some homework to do, Doctor.
And I would
I don't know
include
about you. I know all these people.
I would include Shirov. And I think I'd include Geza Marozzi, because they were all, Magnus Carlsen out of all of them was the only one who isn't or wasn't revolutionary, I think.
Mhm.
He's just sort of a boring, well-rounded guy who is most likely to win.
Right.
I wouldn't want that to be true, but I think it might be true. I'd want Fischer to win, but I'm not sure whether he could beat Kasparov or Rubinstein, or Karpov, actually. Morozevich and Shirov are two people who I think could beat anybody when they were at their peak. They were just fearless, brilliant tacticians, same as Kasparov. Actually, those three guys could be like the wild cards. They might win.
Right.
But I'm expecting either Fischer or Rubinstein to win. But in reality, Carlsen is going to win, even though I don't want that.
Okay. That's it.
Wow. I'm surprised Capablanca didn't make the.
Oh, Capablanca was a lazy guy.
Yeah, I know. I knew you were going to say that. I knew
No,
you
no,
were
no.
going to say.
No, him and Dalyekin they were brilliant guys. They were brilliant guys, but
Yeah.
neither of them could sustain a career for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And they just weren't serious. They weren't pros yet. They weren't
Yeah.
professional.
A question about just Carlsen. I don't know. Did you watch any of the Norway chess?
The recent one?
No,
The recent
I
one?
didn't.
Because
I enjoy analyzing the games later if I have time, but I
Yeah.
never work the streams.
I'll be curious about what after you analyze some of those games, because he was not up to
Well,
par, and
he
I
was
don't
not.
know if that's
Really?
because, well, he came in. I forget what he finished in almost last, wasn't it? It was
Pretty close.
fourth, fifth. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Pragnon beat him twice, I think. Even Prague beat him twice in the turn.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why when you said that, I was laughing, because I was like, up until last week or this week, I would have agreed with you, but laying off, not playing chess and not really training, I wonder if that's, like you said, maybe a little Capablanca-esque.
This might not be peak Magnus right now, though. So it would be.
It's not peak Magnus. I guess that's right.
Yeah.
He finished fourth or fifth. I can't remember.
But he has a small kid now, so he has
Yeah.
an excuse.
Oh, he's
Yes.
got lots of excuses reasons for sure.
Yeah.
But I thought that was because a lot of people like, automatically thought that he would, you know, still be the top guy.
Well,
And he played great
it's
games.
difficult not to believe that. I mean,
He always wins.
there's objectively, you'd have to really have a round robin, a quadruple round robin between Fischer, Kasparov, and Magnus at their peak
Right. Yeah.
I
to
just,
start the debate.
A candidates really type thing.
Yeah.
just them.
Yeah. Just that.
Just keep playing. I just
I'd
want to
watch.
see you keep playing.
Yeah. I'd watch. I'd watch.
I'd very much watch. You know what we need to do? We need to get Chessiverse to get their peak robots.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just play. Look at that Chessiverse making you millions right there.
No, I'm sure. I mean, maybe the technology isn't there yet to emulate their styles perfectly out of the whatever, maybe a few thousand games they have in the databases, but probably in the future we'll be able to come close to that.
Yeah.
Well, I think like the Chessiver, what did they say about me, Bill? Chessiver said I was a bad Magnus Carlsen or reckless.
You're a bad Magnus.
I was the bad. I thought that was great. I saw Magnus Carlsen. You play like Magnus Carlsen. I thought, oh, this is great. They're a bad Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'll take a bad Magnus over what I do
suppose,
personally.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
all right.
All right. Well,
all right.
again, trying to be respectful. Do not fear. I will bother you again to come back on. This was way too much fun not to do this, and I think I've got 2 or 3 more podcasts just on the questions that I know that I want to ask now. But
you can ask me now. It's okay. If you have some more questions, go ahead.
No, we'll be good. We'll be nice.
We're about to trust. Don't worry. We have 5 pages. We only went through 2, I think. So we got plenty.
If you're looking for things, if you're looking for things that we don't know, that list is very long, sir.
Yeah.
But it would be remiss if we can't have our audience be able to go find you and get some more of your insight and look at what you're doing and hopefully after this they will be cheering you on at your next tournament coming up. So how would they look to follow along with you and what games are you going to be playing soon or tournaments?
I'm playing a tournament in 6 days. It's the Pula Open. Wait, can I share stuff here?
Yeah, you just got to click on share and then I have to say yes. For some reason, my Zoom doesn't let me pre-say yes.
Okay, I can attach. Okay, I'll
share should be at the bottom.
No, I'll just send you a link to
okay. I'll put it as the episode notes. That'll save people. Now, listen, people, if you're driving listening to the podcast, the note link will still be there. Don't just keep going.
Okay, so here's the link to the next tournament I'll be playing. It begins in 6 days, and based on the starting list, I should be playing a kid from Turkey, rated about 1600. And if you guys don't know anything about tournament chess in Europe, you lose to kids from Turkey.
I was going to say that's not the place you want to start, sir.
No, that's you have no idea who you're playing. Last year we were playing the Pula Open as well, and my teammate, my good friend, we got the pairings half an hour before the round, and I was paired against the Croatian kid, maybe 1600, and I said yes. And he was paired against a kid from Turkey. We both ended up winning. He was busted. He was completely loose, destroyed in about 20 moves. The difference between him and me is that I'd just lose that game, but he can swindle his way out of anything, so he won. I mean, you lose that game, your tournament's over.
Yeah.
But there's nothing you can do. So very likely I'm going to have to go through that in 6 days.
Okay, and what tell us how to, whether it's YouTube or Patreon, which I joined up, by the way, on Patreon.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Yeah, no, it's great stuff. Trust me, I don't spend money easily.
No,
I'm not like Bill. I'm not like Bill. I don't follow 5 million people, so I just want you to know that. So, but tell us how to get to the audience, how to get to your material.
Well, do you guys want me to share links here? Maybe
sure.
Put that into
I'll put them in. I'll put it in the episode notes.
Okay, so I'm sharing the Patreon link, and I'm gonna share the YouTube link is messy. Can you guys?
I'll do a short link for it.
Yeah, do a short link because I do have a custom link, but
Yeah,
unfortunately, I don't have it here.
not with you. Yeah.
Uh,
No, I'll
I
make new
will.
ones. It'll be for your YouTube and your Patreon. So I'll do that because I'm a member of both.
And I
Yeah,
do want to make one note, Stefan, that on your link on the choices you have, and the top tier is Capablanca.
yeah.
The nerve, the nerve.
No, no, no. But there's the thing. The top tier used to be Bobby Fischer, and I used to use that for coaching. And there was also one in between Capablanca and Fischer, which was Aljechin. And then
Hmm.
at one point there was also Karpov in between. But now, since those got, I got rid of those. Now only Capablanca is left. I might rename it to something.
You
Oh,
know,
oh,
you know
oh.
what's probably what probably happens at this tournament. That all those people are playing chess really well, but all the female commentators and female influencers that show up at this fictional tournament that we have would be a very big distraction for Mr. Capablanca. So I don't think he's going to perform
Okay.
at his best.
Yeah.
He
We'll,
seemed to be
we'll leave
quite
it
the
at that.
ladies' man.
Oh,
Oh, sorry, I forgot to include John Nunn. Ah, I would have him at
I
that
like
tournament.
his stuff.
Yeah, John Nunn is wonderful.
You know what's going to happen? We're going to hang up after this call, and you're going to be sitting there going, "Why did I talk to those people? They're terrible." But oh, I forgot. Blah 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 blah. And it's okay.
That's why we'll have to have part 2 and 3.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, this
We're
was
gonna
great
have
fun.
part 2. Yeah.
I fully enjoyed this. This was even better than I anticipated. I am so excited. I am going to be editing this tonight, and it will come out early tomorrow. So I will send you a link, and you can have it. And we do
Thank you.
appreciate you coming on to our little baby podcast where two hosts don't even add up to what you're scoring, and can't do anything but wish you well at your upcoming tournament. So thank you,
Yes.
sir.
Much luck.
Guys, thank you for having me. Good luck with your rating. Good luck with the podcast. It's been great fun. I'm happy to come on for part 2 whenever you want. Send me a link to the episode. I'm going to include it in the
Will do.
description for the next video.
Will do.
And if you have any suggestions for the channel, for Patreon, for anything,
No,
let me know.
I would just say just keep doing what you're doing because it is one of the things that has helped me a ton. So I
Yeah.
appreciate it greatly. And I'm at a racetrack, so I have to think about this. I have this Excel spreadsheet, and we have this called the Car Bible. It's got like everything about our car, so we know like what that part is because it's not stock, and it's a 1986 of this and a 2007 of that, but whatever. But I view your especially through Patreon and through some of the channel lists that you have on YouTube. It's kind of like my Bible for certain things that when I need the information, that's where I go first, and I go look
I
things up.
appreciate that.
So
Yep.
it's fantastic, and you are a asset to the chess world. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. You are great at doing very, very pleasant interviews. Keep
Wow,
going.
we got to be good at something. We can't play chess.
Right now, yeah, I can't play chess, so All right. Good luck. Take care.
Good luck to you too. Bye.